Hey, welcome. My name is Benny. This is Tech Help Oz, episode 8 for the 12th of April 2015. Another 30-minute blast of news, or it's free, and I'm joined by my good mate Lenny. How you going, mate?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all. All right, things are moving along nicely. We're having stuff happen, and we've got some stories for everyone. So, I don't know, I reckon you got a good one there, Lenny. It's very timely because tonight is budget night. We've had a bit of an announcement which is going to make things pretty interesting for foreign tech companies. What do you say, mate?
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. Like basically, at the moment, the Australian government is trying to get a tax going for services like Netflix. So basically, all online companies are going to get tax within Australia. So it's going to be interesting for a lot of companies. I know that it's been a big issue within Australia for a long time. They're actually doing something about it now. So basically, what's being taxes everything that you can download. So tablets, smartphones, ebooks, music, movies, digital magazines, streaming services, everything is going to be taxed. So the federal government at the moment released a massive statement. So basically, shortened down, they basically said the local businesses had previously had an unfair advantage over overseas competitors. So that's the quote from what they said. So a lot of people are saying like, when is it going to start? Everyone's a bit fussed about like, is it going to start soon? Am I going to get taxed straight away? Are all our prices going to increase for what we're paying for? Because getting taxed means that our services here in Netflix are going to get a little bit more expensive. So instead of paying $14 for our service, for example, for the full premium service of Netflix, we're going to be looking at paying maybe $17, $18, a little bit more, so they can tax it from that. So what's going to happen in 2017, if everything goes well and all the bills get passed as they expect it to be, then it's going to go on a two-year march kind of thing where it's going to get trialed out. So the full thing, if everything goes well with the government, it's going to get taxed. It's going to go officially active in 2019. So I would suggest if you're starting up a company like Tech Help Oz at the moment, I definitely suggest that we get our foot in the game and get everything sorted before then, so we can get all sorted as well. But it's going to be exciting. A lot of companies, I know that a lot of online companies, especially Uber at the moment, which I would suggest is an online service still, because it's basically just an online. Because people are saying that it's a tax base. I would consider it online because they don't have a headquarters here in Australia. The company is headed off overseas. So you use it as an app, and that's where you get your information from. That's how you get the service. So I would say, as an online service, maybe it still works that way. And I don't know if they're going to fit in the bracket, because recently Uber has gone into being the most valuable startup company in the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go, because if they go into a physical company, they're going to get exempt from the online taxes that are going to happen. But the fact is, then they're going to have to move most of their assets off the website, offline, basically. So instead of having their app being the main source, they're going to have to find other ways. They're going to have call centers and stuff like that set up with physical locations in Australia to get exempt from these taxes. So it's going to be difficult for us to say. Like, I don't know for companies like that what they're going to do, but companies that are basically just an online service, like for example us, we're going to have online facilities. That's where most of our business is going to take place, with physical services happening here and there. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Yeah. Now, starting off with the Uber, I actually think Uber have got a Perth office or a Perth headquarters somewhere, because I do remember seeing advertising for when we had jobs coming out for Uber. So they do actually have a Perth presence. They also have a presence in pretty much every other capital city around the world where they're operating.
So they have a physical office where you can go into if you've got a problem. Because for the first time, I'm not gonna lie, I don't use the service. I saw my first Uber driver today, and he had his phone set up, and there's his Uber logo set up. That was the first time I saw an Uber driver here in Hillary's.
Awesome. Yeah. So how was the ride? Was it good?
I didn't use it. I'm a bit too scared to use an Uber driver. I'm basically in that mind frame where I'm like, if I use it, I'm gonna be the first guy that gets killed with this new service. So I'm gonna wait until everything gets sorted out with them, because that one Uber driver got arrested for not for being a taxi without a taxi license and using it being a taxi service. So I still think that Perth is not. It has to sort out how they stand on Uber before taking part in the service, because the taxi drivers like Swan Taxi and Pro Taxi are having a big battle about it because Uber is now taking away so much money from the taxi services. So because they're offering better cars, better service, faster and cheaper rates.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They're
I
actually
think
embarrassing the taxi industry as it is
yeah,
into
yeah,
picking up
exactly.
their game, because we've just, I think it was last week, Swan Taxis announced that they're going to be putting a big sort of technology push into their services. So they are developing their own app, which I would expect would be competing with the Uber app as well. So they're looking at the Uber business model and saying, well, how can we make this work for us? And so I think this has been a long time coming. And it's actually about time that this sort of thing has happened, where the taxi industry has been taken by the scruff of the neck and been given a really, really good shake to say, hey, look, you guys are doing it wrong. This is how it's got to be done. Innovate or die. And it's
Well,
as simple as that.
you're gonna look at that in like all kinds of services. All companies are now being shaken up by online services. Like Uber is definitely shaking up the taxi services, but not just in Australia. I think they're doing it all across the world. Like taxis in New York, Uber is never going to have a service in New York. Taxis rule that city. There's no way for you. There's no point in starting an Uber service there because you're going to be just. It's going to be just as slow as a taxi. So if you do, you're going to have to take it massively and get rid of all the taxis. But it's not possible as far as I'm aware. But in Australia, for example, I know that Swan Taxi, Park Taxi, and whatever they're called here, they hate Uber. They absolutely hate it. They know that it's a better service. They know because with Uber, you have to have your own car, and those cars are generally nice because you have to pass like this massive application to get approved as an Uber driver. So it is a big thing. They don't do as many checks. I know a lot of people some people in America have been mugged or stuck up in the car because Uber didn't do a criminal check on them. It definitely does exist. No service is perfect. Taxi drivers are killing people all across the world. It happens. Okay, it's not a perfect service, but going in that, I still think their business model is going to be classified as an online company. I still think that with their offices, because they are a startup and their company has so many, their main asset is that app. That app is not, you don't have Uber without that app. You can't, there's no way for you to find that service by itself. You can't call an Uber without that app. You can't call them up. You have to use the app because you've got to register credit card details. You got to create an account to call Uber drivers. So that's what I classify them as online. If I'm wrong, I'm definitely wrong. But I just think that that is going to be a funny thing to happen because they're now worth a couple $1 billion and it was created by one or two people. How crazy is that? A couple $1 billion started by one or two people.
Just by building a better taxi. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's across the world, so it's going to be fantastic to see. But moving away from the taxing office now, going to another company that's getting a bit shaken up at the moment, Telstra have recently had shots fired at them from Netflix. So Netflix, keeping with that kind of frame, has released the ADSL standards and download speed for all ISPs in Australia. So you've got TPG, you've got Dodo, you've got iNet, you've got Optus, you've got Telstra. So out of those main ISPs, I forgot about Extel and Primus. So TPG being the best at the moment with their 3.36 megabyte download is leading the bunch. Now with them in the process of purchasing iNet, TPG and iNet are going to merge their basically their services together. So hopefully going to increase that as well. But our lovely Telstra at the moment has gotten the lowest rank out of all the ISPs in Australia. As the slowest service. Now, even for a lot of people, what they've been ranked at is pretty good. They've been ranked at 2.23 megabytes per second per household. But shots fired at Telstra is not going to be taken easily. Telstra have actually fought back on this, saying the reason why their speeds are so slow is due to them being the largest ISP in Australia. Their speeds are slower because of their larger ISP footprint. So they're saying, we have more customers. That means that we are allowed to have a slower speed because we got much more to deal with than you. You as TPG have got X amount.
A little more.
Exactly. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like if you're the biggest ISP, you're meant to have the best network. You're meant to have the best speed. You're the biggest. That's what it means. You're supposed to be the best. So TPG, INET, and Optus, they're fighting very hard. They're basically saying, this is why we are the best for it. You're meant to use us. And at the moment, it's very interesting to deal with. Like, I can't understand. Telstra are fighting this battle where they're losing against INET, Optus, and TPG. INET has got the ability to now have free Netflix streaming. So for people that don't know, we've mentioned this before. I think Ben remembers as well. We talked about INET having free quota and then battling and Optus wanting to charge Netflix money to get higher access speeds through Optus network, basically. So when you're capped on INET, you still have access to your full speed on a free quota service. So if you're capped on INET, when your service you usually get 3.5 megabytes, you can still get the full speed that you normally would get when you aren't capped. So if I've gone over my quota, I still access that thing at full speeds. So that's why I think that INET is rated so highly. The fact that you don't have to be under quota to get that at full speed, because you get it at the maximum of capacity of your line all the time. It's not going to be throttled at all. So it's very interesting. So I want to see how far Telstra are going to take this. If they're gonna shop back at Netflix or battle TPG.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting. So yeah, it could go either way. Telstra could actually pick up their act and nail it somehow, or they could play with the figures and say, well, actually, no, we're not the worst. We're actually the best because of this, this, and this. And they can go that way, and that's the way it usually goes.
The thing is with Telstra, they don't have the most services. They're linked with Optus and INET as both offering fiber, ADSL, and cable services. So they don't have an excuse. They've got all the same services. They've got access to the same amount of speeds. But why aren't they giving it? That's the thing.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to spend a little bit of time inside IINet during Insiders Week last year.
Yeah.
And that was an absolute ball. And I asked one of the questions of the director about internet speeds and data caps and things. And it came to light that internet speeds and data caps are brought about because of all the backroom deals that go in between internet service providers to get those links between the big data centers. And there are contracts that go on, and that's only part of it. Then there's also kind of a pseudo-technical reason why routers can only run so fast, and it's got to do with licensing. If you've got one of these core routers, really, really big, powerful routers that are used to keep links running between large internet service providers or to another internet service provider overseas, they've actually got a license, and with that particular license, they can run to a certain speed. If they want to run faster, then they've got to go and buy another license or upgrade that license to unlock these features, which are already a part of the hardware as it is. But you've got to buy the license to unlock the software to make the hardware go faster. And that's the sort of thing that bugs me. You should be able to just buy a router and run it at full chat and not have to pay for some pseudo license that will unlock features that are already there.
It's strange that you have to do that through Telstra, because Telstra provides your modem every time you sign up a contract with them, and that modem is locked to them. You can't use it with another provider. So
okay, yeah, that's a different modem altogether. This is the end user modem. The routers, the things that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
The beasts that live inside.
Oh, okay. Like the big ones that internet.
Big ones, yeah.
So wouldn't Telstra, being, because they've got the network set up. It's their, most of the time, 80% of the time, everything that all other ISPs go through will be one that was created by Telstra. So in my mind, I'm saying if they even own that one, if you got Telstra Internet, what's stopping them from providing their services at a higher speed than other providers? Because I know at some certain, when I worked at INET, Telstra actively prevented INET and Optus from getting their services in certain I keep forgetting the word, in certain locations, just because they don't want to sell them the space in that little place. So in my mind, it's gonna kill me. I can't remember the word. But so if they have the access to stop you from going in there and purchasing space in there to provide service in that area, wouldn't they still have the access to provide higher speeds because they own it? Don't they have the facility to provide better speeds and better quality? And it doesn't make any sense. If you own it, give you the full speed.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with those big interlinks,
Yeah.
going overseas, where they've got to actually go to another provider and say, hey, we want to access this much data through this
Yeah.
link at this speed. Let's work out a deal. And there might be some sort of budgetary constraint. So there are factors that will be different from one ISP to another depending on the people negotiating the contracts. That's the only thing that I can think of that would be causing it. Just trying to get that. Two things are usually at odds.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that we'll let IONET win the battle. Let's go from there. You have a very interesting that you want to talk about. I'm very interested to see how this goes because we are in the future, people. We are in the future.
Yeah, man, it is happening, and it's happening now. All right, those of you that have been paying attention to technology news might have heard on the last year or so how Google have been doing their autonomous cars. These cars are basically cars that drive themselves. So they've started off with refitting things like your Prius and your Lexus and all these pretty decent road-going cars. And they've been testing them as standalone vehicles that drive themselves. So they do their things like navigation, they observe obstacles around them, they manage to basically drive themselves without any interaction from the driver. Now, you might have seen road trains and things cruising around, the big trucks, and you might have also heard about how hard it is sometimes for truck drivers to basically get from A to B and do long haul driving. It's tough. I've done long haul myself, not in a truck, but driving long distances, it is a real chore. And Freightliner, a division of Daimler, have put out a truck called the Freightliner Inspiration, which is the first semi-trailer or an 18-wheeler that has been given license to test fully autonomous driving on the highway in Nevada, which is the first step to something I think is really, really awesome. So it works like this. Through your normal streets, it's driven by the driver. When you hit the highway, either someone flicks a switch or the Freightliner knows that it's going to be driving on a straight line for a long time. And somehow along the way, they both decide, hey, Freightliner, you're going to drive yourself now. The driver now kicks back, he goes back and does something else. He can maybe grab a few Z's or just relax and just try to get his mind off driving for a little while, and the truck will take over. They've got forward sensors. There's no rear sensors because it won't be needing to look backwards when you're just going forwards. It uses a stereoscopic camera to read lane lines, short and long range radar that can scan the road up to 800 feet, which is, 500 meters ahead for obstacles. So that's a pretty good range. There's no vehicle to vehicle communication, not needed because who you're going to talk to. No LiDAR. So that's a type of radar that's used to map the area around you. They don't use that. It's really based on visual inputs. So it's using the same input that we're getting from drivers, which I suppose makes sense. So it is a really, really cool thing at the moment. Only testing in Nevada, but I think this is opening things up for very, very exciting times. So it's a great way to manage driver fatigue. It's also going to hopefully make the prospect of being a truck driver a little less daunting. And we might even see hopefully, I'm really hoping that we're going to see a drop in road incidents involving driver error behind the wheels of these massive trucks. If we see that, that can pave the way for when we see just the family car becoming autonomous. Maybe think ahead in 50 years' time. the kids are looking at the cars, and then grandma or grandpa say, well, you know, we used to drive these things on our own. We used to have a wheel, we'd have pedals, and we'd drive it down the road. I can imagine kids 50 years from now looking at you incredulous, going, what? The government actually let you guys drive cars? Weren't there any fatalities? And you say, oh, yeah, hundreds of people, thousands of people died on the roads every year. But we just thought that was
Sweet.
okay. We just sort of, is a part of being living in that age. And people would be losing their minds saying, you've got to be joking. You let people pilot these lumps of metal down a road that was unregulated and everyone kind of knew the rules. I reckon in 50 years' time, people will be saying, gee, isn't that quaint? They used to drive their own cars.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I hope so. I really hope it happens soon. Kind of reminds me the way that they're going with the truck driving. I think they're going to go the way of airplanes, autopilot. I think autopilot is very advanced in airplanes. They can even land planes at times. So if you can land a couple of ton plane from the air onto tarmac, you can make a truck drive itself for a little bit at least. And I think especially here in Australia with the vast open highways that we've got for truck drivers going back and forth, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to help people. I think it's going to be a very, very big push for truck drivers across because that I do think that some might think it's going to take their job. I can understand that some people can be like, if they advance this, truck drivers are going to get their job taken from them. Like, you can't really, no matter how good the machine is, you definitely need a person behind the wheel to make sure nothing happens. Like to make sure if anything unpredictable happens, that they're there to step in and stop it from getting worse. So I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a big push. I really hope it goes well. Google cars are doing well. The only accidents they've ever had was because a person was driving it, backed into a pole, just so you know, they backed into a pole twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if Google has a step in it, I think it's going to go well. I think it's going to go fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited to see how this goes. And, you know, your analogy of comparing planes to trucks, I mean, it's really not that far fetched. It's quite
Yeah.
cool. And you'd probably even take it a step further. First of all, okay, sorry, the job
Spaceships.
question. Spaceships, yes. But the the taking the jobs issue,
Yeah,
I actually think it might open things up for people who wouldn't normally drive trucks. Just
yeah,
imagine
maybe.
people who might want to do something like write a book, or they might want to write software or be part of a startup, and you can do all your planning while you're
Yeah,
still earning
exactly.
money as a truck
Mm,
operator or truck supervisor, not actually a driver, because you really just watch them
Truck,
do things from A to B.
truck moderator.
Yeah, truck monitor,
That's it. Yeah,
transport
no,
monitor.
I definitely think so. I think if you get this time, if you get a job like that, I think you should use your time wisely while you're in it. Definitely
Hmm.
do what you want to do while you're doing the job and earning money. Like,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are probably just gonna sleep and watch videos. So I think mobile broadband is gonna be a big thing for those truck drivers as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I can definitely. I'll be 100% honest. I can definitely see it a big thing, being a big thing in Australia, with
yeah,
such a big gap between city and city and just being empty highways.
yeah,
And I know that there's going to be such a big gap between rest stops for them. I definitely support this kind of project happening, and I really hope
yeah,
that they open up testing here in Australia to see how it goes.
yeah. Yeah, so not only good for the drivers, but also good for the customers, the people who are trying to get things from A to
Yeah.
B. We could probably see
What?
quicker transport times because there won't be any need to stop. They just keep on going.
Fresh fruit next morning delivery, robot
Yep,
driver.
you got it.
Just quickly, do you remember last week we spoke about? I think it was last week we spoke about the I think it was Tesla that was doing the battery packs.
Yes,
Those.
the
Did you
in-car
know that
chargers.
they're sold out until 2016 already? You can't pre-order them
Wow,
at all anymore. They're sold out already.
that's a hot product. They,
Yes.
I don't know what it is about Tesla, but they have got some sort of magic sauce going on in there, and they know what they're doing. And I'm pretty excited to see what comes out. And I'm actually really, really looking forward to seeing more Tesla products coming into Australia. Now, I already
Yeah.
know we've got a couple of Tesla Roadsters or a Tesla S somewhere. There's three or four of them already in Australia, I believe. And all I can say is bring on the Tesla X, the SUV with the golden
Yeah.
doors. Man,
Just
bring that
quickly,
thing in because that looks awesome.
I forgot that we've got an actual chat that we actually do have on the YouTube page,
Oh,
because
okay.
we're still working on getting it sorted out. Nicholas, the reason why Nicholas just asked, why is Netflix banning people using a VPN service? So Netflix is
Right.
actively actually doing it. So the reason why Netflix is banning people that are using a VPN service to access their service from a different country, whereas an American or a UK service, the reason why they're doing it is because in their terms of service, the reason why Netflix services are different all across the world is because licenses depend on each country. So Australia, you can have services launching movies, launching shows available on Netflix because the licensing is different here. They have a different license of what they do in America. So they're legally allowed to stream movies like Avengers or something like that here. They might not be able to do it in Sweden or something like that. So if you're accessing using a VPN service to access American Netflix and watching something that is not geographically allowed to be streamed through Netflix in Australia, then they are legally in trouble if you do that. So they can get fined if they found out that Marvel can sue them, any other company can sue them because their service is being accessed from a different country without it being legally allowed. So they're trying to prevent that. They're saying if you, in their terms of services, when before Netflix launched in Australia, actually updated it saying any customer server, any person using Netflix through a virtual protection or whatever it stands for. I can't even remember what Netflix VPN stands for, but
A virtual private.
that's it. You will have your account suspended because they've now got a program running where it geographically locks where your VPN starts. Not where it's pretending to be, but where it starts. It starts from your computer. So where your DNS server is linked in Australia, it will find out that it's there. You're accessing an American VPN, American network. You will get your account banned. So that being my account can access American one if I'm in America. It can access the Australian one if I'm in Australia. But if my account is banned, I can't access either one of those. So it's something that you definitely don't want to happen. That's why I strongly recommend at the moment not using a VPN service. The Australian Netflix is getting updated regularly. Just bear with it for a little bit. It will, it will get there. So just be careful with it, all right? So just avoid it.
That was an excellent question. Thanks very much for that. Was it Nick, was it?
Yeah, Nicholas. Yeah, Nicholas.
Okay. Yeah,
Ben, you can get this one. You can have this one. Emily Luton is asking. She is basically not asking. She's saying she's not happy about the taxes on Netflix. So can you explain to her why it might be a good thing or a bad thing that it's being taxed, basically? Because all kinds of online services are getting taxed.
Yeah, online services and also tech companies. It's been a big issue. One really good example is Apple. Now, Apple have been funneling their they've been funneling their local income through Ireland. So they've been taking taking that income and somehow saying, well, no, this income's been earned in Ireland, so we're going to be paying the tax that is applicable for Ireland, which is way less than what they'd be paying in other countries. And the Australian government is missing out on massive amounts of income. And in the end of the day, it also means that we, as the tax-paying public, having to shoulder the burden of trying to meet the tax demands that the government has to meet themselves, and we're paying basically Apple's tax. It's the same thing with Google. Microsoft, I'd imagine, be at fault as well. Adobe have also been raked over the coals for this one. And Netflix, because they are providing a service in Australia and they're this massive provider of services online, they're going to be targeted as well. Think about it as Stan and Presto, both Australian services, and they're having to pay GST, and people are having to pay GST on the subscriptions that they have to provide. And so Netflix is actually getting an unfair advantage over the rest of the competition within Australia. So you can look at it a few ways, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how Netflix handles the GST question. When we had GST come into play way back then, people just added 10% on it. But that was a level playing field. Everyone was doing the same thing. When it comes to Netflix being a new business coming into Australia, they could basically swallow up the GST themselves, included in the price that's already being charged. And that could work out well for everyone. The consumer doesn't have to pay much more or any more at all. And the government gets their tax and Netflix does their thing and everyone is happy in theory. It could go the other way. We would just simply have 10% thrown on top. Or Netflix could spit the dummy and be real jerks about the whole thing and charge even more, in which case they'll be finding themselves in more trouble. But,
or if Netflix basically says they're not happy the fact that they're having to pay taxes here, they can pull the service.
That would be plan C, which would be pretty catastrophic. I wouldn't like that at all. And I think Netflix shareholders would be pretty upset with that too. As well,
especially being in Australia. I think with the money that iNet paid for them, I think they definitely shouldn't. But taxing is definitely a big thing for them. They need to do it.
Yeah. So as much as I hate to pay more tax, I'm okay with a few extra dollars on my Netflix subscription, as long as everyone else is paying the same extra few dollars on their Netflix subscriptions, which means the tax burden is being lightened across the load when it comes to my end of financial year tax and quarterly BAS statements and those sorts of things. If that can lighten the load and if we can get the economy back in the black, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine. It is still a very low dollar amount for a service of this quality. It is for 4 screens, $14 or $15 in total. I'm very happy paying. I wouldn't like to pay more than $20, but again, if they raise it to $20 a month, it's a square amount of dollars that I'd put away for it every month. I don't have a problem with it. The service provides me with so much content and there's no limit to what you can watch a month, so I'm fine with it. I'm totally okay with it being taxed.
Yeah. What would be the top amount you'd be willing to pay for Netflix? At what point would they get the price so high you'd say, come on, guys?
So the top amount, now I'm saying this because I'm expecting if they do raise the dollar amount, if they don't change the service itself, like for example, at the moment, what I would like to do is to be able to have Netflix sharing. So in that, I mean, I want to be able to have like online dates with my girlfriend, for example. If she's at her house, I'm at my house, we can have like an online date where we can watch the same show and have like a little chat option on the side like that. Because I know that Xbox had that, for example, when they first brought it out. With Netflix, what happened in Australia, they had Netflix sharing. What you would do is everybody would join a party, and what would happen is you press play and everyone watches at the same time. Then you have the option to chat while you're watching. Someone pauses it across the board, so you're always watching it together. I think that would be awesome. For nerds like me, have online friends, I think that'd be so much fun. We can watch like a movie together while we're just like playing games and stuff like that. I think it'd be fantastic. It's very nerdy, but I would pay up to $50 for that kind of service. That's the highest I'd pay because I have 4 people using my service continuously. If it got to $50, I would make them pay a percentage of it. So I would make them at least pay $10 to $11 per person, and then I would pay the rest basically. So at the moment, I'm fine paying the $15 by myself. But if it had to get up to that high, I wouldn't pay more than $50. So,
all right, yeah. That's fair enough. I mean, $50, that's pretty good. The features you mentioned there, that's really cool. I like that idea.
Netflix had it, and I don't know why they took it away. It was
probably an experiment.
No, I think it's a very nice idea. Like I heard about it a while ago from the Xbox chat rooms and stuff like that, and I thought it was a super cool idea for people to have, like, especially if you're with your girlfriend and you're playing games and stuff like that, like Minecraft. It's a fun game you can just snap Netflix, watch it with your girlfriend, and play Minecraft at the same time. I think it'd be a pretty cool feature. But yeah, bacon. Awesome. So yeah, how much would you be willing to pay? Like you've got a family. I know that you're in a house. You probably watch it all at the same time. so you probably don't need the 4 screens. So for one screen of HD, it's $7.80. So how much
Yeah.
would you be willing to pay?
Well, we're a 2-screen household, so
Okay.
so that's what, $10?
Yeah.
About $11. Sorry, that's right.
Yeah.
So $11. I'm quite happy with that. Now, the big draw for me, the kids love to watch their animated stuff and their movies and
Yeah.
things. My 16-year-old daughter is on my case about watching Orange is the New Black.
Oh my God, no.
I know,
No.
right? Yeah,
God,
no.
no.
No, but everyone else's dad lets them know. So,
Their dads are stupid.
Yeah, that's right. My middle daughter, she loves to watch Teen Wolf, so they enjoy the TV series. And the wife and I, we love House of Cards, and we just we gobble that up as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And I look at it this way: if I'm going to be enjoying a TV series, so if I want to watch a season within a month, that's going to cost me $40. If I go down to JB Hi-Fi, at minimum $35 to $40 to watch like Game of Thrones season 2 or something in a month.
Yeah, exactly.
On the DVDs, play them through. So I think for me, my cutoff would be around about $40 a month.
Yeah.
$30 to $40 a month. And I really only need 2 screens. I don't need 4K because I don't have a 4K system. And 1080p is all I need.
Yeah, exactly. So the HD service that the Netflix provide is perfect. I don't want it to be more expensive than just being able to go rent DVDs, basically. That's what I'm getting at.
At the end of the day, that's what they're competing with. Even if you were to go and buy those series online from Google or Apple, you're still paying around that $30 to $40 mark for an entire season of entertainment.
And Hulu is, I don't know why people still eat. I like that Hulu's got a bunch of services, but Hulu's not available in Australia yet. For a lot of people that don't know, it's kind of like Netflix, but it's more it will give you the TV feeling when you watch it. Hulu, you pay for the service, you get the same stuff that Netflix does. They don't have as many shows, full seasons of, and while you're paying for this thing online and streaming it, you still get 4 ads in an episode. So a lot of people prefer Netflix. Now, a quick question before we end it, because we're getting close to going over here a little bit.
I think we're over, yeah.
Yeah, so so the Netflix offers, when they launch a show, they do it one season at a time. So they don't give you episode by episode. They give you a whole season to go on at once, right?
Yeah.
So Daredevil example, launched whole season launched the whole 4 season. It's all done. I powered through it in a day. It was awesome. Absolutely loved it, right?
Yeah.
They haven't started shooting season 2 till the end of this year. So that means I've got to wait till 2016 for that show to come on. Now, what do you think? What's your stand on it? I absolutely hate that because they've given me all this content at once, knowing I'm going to power watch it, and now I've got to wait a year for it to come out again. Do you think that they should release 1 episode or at least 2 episodes a month or 2 episodes a week and then just keep it a little bit longer so you can have that content? Or do you think Netflix should stay by just releasing all that content at once and having you just wait for a year?
This is a bit like drinking. If you binge drink, you're always going to drink it later on, aren't you?
You will, and it just kills me.
So I'm quite okay with Netflix, just dropping a whole season in one go. The reason why I like that is sometimes I might not be able to start when everyone else is starting, but I like to be able to catch up. And missing those seasons, you don't miss those episodes, but I don't know. I think it gives me that flexibility. I'm quite happy to take that flexibility. And once that season is up, I'll just move on to some other show and I'll watch some other season of something else. And then when Daredevil season 2 comes out, oh, great, Daredevil 2's back. I remember Daredevil 1. That was fun.
We're like, oh, yeah, is that show still going? What's going on?
Yeah, so you've had all these other shows leapfrog all over Daredevil, and then Daredevil season 2 comes in. You go, oh, hang on, that's right. I was watching season 1. I might go back and watch the last 2 or 3 episodes to get all caught up again, and then I'll dive back into Daredevil 2.
And another thing that Netflix is doing is they've got Marvel's new season of AKA Jessica Carter or something like that. They've got it already up on Netflix. but they're not releasing the season until the end of 2015. So they're teasing you. It's available there. You can see the art. You can see it's there, but they're not releasing it to end of 2015. So they're already teasing us. Yeah, they're already teasing us. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just quickly, Nicholas, Netflix is totally worth it. I am happy paying with what I have. If you have the availability of getting it on an iPad or something like that while you're in the house, I definitely would recommend watching it. So it's definitely a plus for me.
Yeah, Netflix only on ADSL2 Plus or cable. Do not do Netflix over mobile connections. It is going to slaughter you. That the bill shock will be enough to put you 6 feet under. Don't do it.
Or someone who's paying the bill will absolutely murder you. So just don't do it. All right, cool. It's been a very chatty night, man. We talked about a lot of stuff tonight. It's good.
It's been good, yeah. And I think we're getting to that time where we've got to start wrapping things up. So as we usually wrap things up with a bit of a plug with the stuff we're doing either with Tech Help Oz or in our other lives. So, Lenny, what do we got?
So at the moment, we're in the process of starting to look at people to do a show, which Ben is going to be a presenter of because I don't want to do it. I don't want to be on the TV. I don't want to be on the show anymore. It's going to be basically the idea is we start filming on Friday, Saturday, so we can have the best news possible, and then we're going to launch it on Sunday night every night for Australia. So it's basically going to be your Sunday news show. We're going to look at some people, hopefully start production end of this month if everything goes well. So I think June is going to be a very interesting month. You're going to see Ben in his brand spanking new shirts. I'm going to make him buy new shirts for it. It's going to be good. It's going to be very professionally done. We're going to get some good people on it as well. So I think you should look out for that coming up. But follow Tech Help Oz on Twitter and on Facebook to stay up to date with what we're doing and what's going on with the company as well. So do that.
Yep. Sounds like fun. And of course, you can always follow Tech Help Oz on Twitter. What's the handle again, Lenny?
The handle of that one is Tech Help Oz. 2 H's.
Simple. Duh. All right. I'm still plugging away with the Tech Help Oz website. It's kind of up, and we're just getting some things plugged in and making sure it's all running right. And of course, my day job is keeping me busy. So you can find me at Ben Aylett on Twitter, all over Facebook. You can search for Easy Wireless, and you'll find that all over the place. That is EZI Wireless. I'm basically a tech guy who comes to you and helps you out with your technology, or I do it online. And that's me. And I did have a week off with 6PR. So I'm usually on Perth's 6PR from 8:20 p.m. to 9 p.m. with Chris Ilsley. I jump on and I talk technology. We take calls and we have a bit of fun. This week I've had off because the dog's pretty sick and we're just getting that sorted out, and the dog should hopefully be fine, and I'll be back on air next week. So look out for that then. Follow me on Twitter and you'll get updates.
Follow in Periscope.
And Periscope, that's right. I like to play with Periscope before and after the show. So if you tune in on Periscope, again, watching me on Twitter will give you the links.
Yep.
I'll be able to take you guys for a walk around the 6PR studios. We might even be able to sneak into a couple of the studios at 96 FM. So there's some cool memorabilia and lots of cool technology to look at and play with. And hey, feel free to join me.
Exactly. All right. That's all good, man. Thanks for another night, man. It's been a good show.
No worries, been a good show, and I think that's a wrap. So from Lenny and myself and everyone else within the sound of our voices, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week on Tech Help Oz.